In the early morning hours of October 5th, 2020, a young woman was captured on surveillance footage leaving a Dallas nightclub. 23-year-old Marisela Botello Valadez, visiting from Seattle, climbed into a car with a man she had just met. It seemed like an innocent decision at the time, but it would mark the beginning of a chilling chain of events. What followed involved a disappearance, an international manhunt, a tangled love triangle, and a brutal murder. This is the story of Marisela Botello Valadez and the tragic decisions that cost her life. Marisela had spent the weekend visiting an old friend in Dallas. She was scheduled to return to Seattle on October 5th, but when her flight was called, Marisela wasn't at the gate. Her seat remained empty, and calls to her phone went unanswered. Her family in Seattle grew concerned. Marisela was a responsible and loving daughter, not someone who would disappear without a word. Back in Dallas, her friend Raul Ortiz also began to worry. He told investigators that Marisela had gone out alone the previous night, visiting Deep Ellum, a vibrant area known for its nightlife. Surveillance footage from that night showed Marisela walking with an unidentified man before entering his black Audi A3. Investigators tracked the vehicle and identified the man as 31-year-old Charles "Chuck" Beltran, a club security worker with a criminal past. When investigators arrived at the Mesquite home of Charles "Chuck" Beltran, their suspicions deepened. Chuck wasn't there, and the house appeared to have been hastily abandoned. Belongings were scattered across the floor, and a mattress was left leaning against a wall. In the kitchen, food and cleaning supplies were left out, as though someone had abruptly fled. Forensic teams quickly went to work. Using Blue Star, a chemical agent that detects the presence of blood, they uncovered alarming evidence. Traces of blood were found in the bathroom and, most notably, in Chuck's bedroom. The stains on the carpet beneath a window tested positive for blood, and DNA analysis later confirmed it belonged to Marisela. Additional blood samples suggested the presence of two other individuals, a male and a female. Further investigation revealed Chuck wasn't living alone. Two women also resided in the house, 56-year-old Lisa Dykes and her 48-year-old wife, Nina Moreno. Cell phone data placed both women, along with Chuck, at the house during the early morning hours of October 5th, the last time Marisela was seen alive. As police pieced together the household dynamics, a bizarre picture emerged. Lisa, a paralegal, had been financially supporting Chuck, whom she described as an aspiring rapper. She had even purchased him the black Audi A3 he drove and set up a business in his name. Nina, meanwhile, was a lawyer who had joined the household in what appeared to be an unconventional arrangement. Both women had taken Chuck's last name, further complicating their already tangled relationships. Investigators also discovered an unusual altar in the home, featuring a statue of Santa Muerte, a figure associated with death in Mexican folk traditions. While its exact significance to the case wasn't immediately clear, it added to the eerie atmosphere of the investigation. Despite the mounting evidence, Chuck, Lisa, and Nina were nowhere to be found. Authorities issued warrants for all three, charging them with capital murder and evidence tampering. What began as a case of a missing person was rapidly becoming something far darker, a story of jealousy, obsession, and betrayal that would stretch across state lines and, eventually, continents. Months passed with no sign of Marisela or the suspects. For her family, the waiting was unbearable. They clung to the hope that Marisela might still be alive, even as evidence suggested otherwise. Investigators focused their search efforts on areas identified through cell phone data from Lisa Dykes and Nina Moreno on the night of Marisela's disappearance. Their search concentrated on a wooded area near Hutchins, Texas, a remote location just south of Dallas. It was here that cell phone records showed both women had traveled shortly after the murder. Despite extensive efforts, including search teams combing the dense terrain and nearby water bodies, no trace of Marisela was found during those initial sweeps. Then, in March 2021, 5 months after her disappearance, a passerby made a chilling discovery. While searching for feral cats in the same wooded area, they stumbled upon what appeared to be a human skull. Authorities were called, and further investigation uncovered additional remains. Dental records confirmed the heartbreaking truth. The remains belonged to Marisela Botello Valadez. The discovery of Marisela's body brought devastating closure to her family, but it also raised more questions than answers. Her remains were so badly decomposed from exposure to the elements and scavenging animals that the medical examiner was unable to determine a definitive cause of death. However, the location of Marisela's remains matched the data from Lisa and Nina's cell phones. Investigators were now certain that the women had been involved in the disposal of her body. The evidence was clear. Marisela had been murdered, and the suspects had gone to great lengths to cover their tracks. For Marisela's family, the discovery was a turning point. Their hopes of finding her alive were shattered, but it strengthened their resolve to seek justice. With Marisela's remains found, the investigation shifted its focus to tracking down Lisa, Nina, and Chuck, who had all vanished without a trace. The search for the suspects would soon turn into an international manhunt. Lisa, Nina, and Chuck were on the run. They had fled Texas, eventually making their way to Cambodia. Law enforcement worked with international authorities to track them down. In February 2022, the women were found in Sihanoukville, a seaside town in Cambodia. They were extradited back to Texas to face charges. Chuck was apprehended separately in Utah, hiding with an ex-girlfriend. By then, investigators had enough evidence to charge all three with capital murder and tampering with evidence. In 2023, the trials began, starting with Lisa Dykes. Chuck, facing his own charges, decided to cooperate with prosecutors. He claimed that on the night of October 5th, Lisa entered his bedroom in a jealous rage and stabbed Marisela, who was asleep in his bed. According to Chuck, Nina entered the room after the murder and helped Lisa clean up the scene. Chuck said he fled the house, fearing no one would believe his innocence. Chuck's testimony painted Lisa as the mastermind, driven by jealousy and her obsession with him. The prosecution argued that Lisa had financed Chuck's lifestyle and couldn't tolerate him bringing another woman home. Lisa's defense painted a different picture. She denied any romantic relationship with Chuck, calling him a manipulative and violent man. She also claimed that the Santa Muerte shrine was Chuck's, not hers, and dismissed suggestions of witchcraft. Lisa testified that she was recovering from plastic surgery at the time of the murder and couldn't have physically committed the crime. She claimed she and Nina were only near Hutchins, where Marisela's remains were found, because they had gone to a FedEx depot for work-related reasons. The jury didn't believe Lisa's story. After just 90 minutes of deliberation, they found her guilty of murder and tampering with evidence. She was sentenced to life in prison, plus 20 years for the tampering charge. Nina and Chuck later pleaded guilty to evidence tampering, avoiding murder convictions. They both received reduced sentences, though their role in the events of that night remains deeply troubling. Marisela was a bright, loving, and hardworking young woman whose life ended far too soon. Her family continues to mourn the loss of their daughter and sister. Marisela's brother, speaking at Lisa's sentencing, described the profound pain their family has endured. He emphasized that Marisela's decision to trust the wrong person shouldn't have cost her life. Thank you for watching and taking the time to hear Marisela's story. If this case moved you, please share it to raise awareness about the importance of personal safety and the ongoing fight for justice. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss another story. Let's honor Marisela's memory by staying informed, supporting one another, and advocating for justice. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.